Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi live noding. In this video, I'm gonna just talk about pattern, like a procedural pattern and shader, or maybe more correctly, procedural texture. I always have this fascinations and curiosity with a pattern, especially like a repeating pattern and like some that's more natural one, like this, for example. Mm, and I always think, how can we recreate that kind of pattern in CG? Like this one is probably more like a map topology, and then probably like a repeating pattern like that made of sine. I did a little bit of OSL study, even though it's really basic back then, using Blender as well, and it's kind of like coding it. But nowadays, probably I'm more inclined to do it using Node. So previously, I've done some research, and then I get to website like Sheraton, and then looking into some works by Inigo Quiles, maybe that's his name. I don't know how exactly to pronounce that. I think he works at Pixar at some point. He put some nice shader, OSL shader code on the web as well. Lots of the code is more about repetitions. It's all pretty abstract, I think. Um, yeah, difficult to explain, but probably I'll do like a series on procedural shader, but using Node, like this kind of pattern I just made earlier. Seems it's actually pretty basic. Oh wait, let me. If you take a look at this, it's basically can be broken down into just a simple square. I render it out. Yeah, this is the original pattern that I created, and then I create a grid using animation nodes. With this simple pattern, we can repeat it and then rotate it, so we're getting a result that's more like that. Yeah, much more complex, but I'm simply here. I have like 4 different state, and I'm using noise to randomize the rotation. So if I stop a little bit, that's kind of pattern. It looks complex, but it's actually really simple underneath. Yeah, so I will not start from scratch, but I will broke this down. Start. Okay, this is the shader. Actually, let me maximize this. Okay, this is what I got. I start with a square. This is usually a good start for a grid pattern. And with this square, I actually I switch to cycles render, and I start with like a circle. Let me do this. Let's save it as new version. And this is actually just a mix of 2 shader. If I cut this and plug this into the color, take a look at the preview. So this is what we got. 0, 0, 0. This is 0, 0, 0. If I put this in the middle, I get a circle. So that's actually what I start with, just a circle. And then I got this by using the gradient texture set to spherical. with a color ramp, kind of mapping the value. Lots of this procedural texture has a similarity to when you're using nodes. It's much more abstract, because even though you kind of working visually, you sometimes you need to know of the value that's changing. Maybe not many people can actually understand this kind of stuff. Vector, let's see. So the gradient texture by itself is the spherical looks like this. It creates like a 3D sphere, and using the texture coordinate and subtract and combine XYZ. This is for the vector in to offset the position of the sphere. We can then place it in the center. I think I can move the sphere in the Z, but we don't need to do that. Set it back to 0 maybe, or 1, and then by using the color ramp we can sort of remapping the value, so it's more, we only need a circle. It's kind of like slicing the sphere. And then here I'm using mix node, so I'm combining two different patterns. This one, and the other one is of course this one, and I'm mixing them together like that. Here I'm getting something that's more like gray because of the mix. It's either this or that, so in the middle it's like grayish. I don't know if I can just plug this thing again and get a like white. Yeah, I probably did. There's probably another way to do this, but this seems to work for us. And yeah, so once I get this pattern, which is just a square, I simply duplicate it into grid pattern using animation nodes like that. I did this like a couple of times, so it doesn't need too much explanations. And here I'm kind of using random number and multiply, and then delay time, number wiggle, and also there's this snap, in order for the number to snap when it's close to a certain value. So I have these 4 different states to rotate this square, and using mix Euler list, and I get something like this. And here I could actually increase the number of grid, or reducing it, depends on how many repeats we want, and we get something like that. It's almost like magic. View, top view, view orthogonal, 20 and 10, and this is actually animated, so because it's rendering as well, so it's I'm setting the preview to 1 sample, 4 cycles, and if I go frame by frame, you will see the rotation is snapping, and what's underneath is random, noise, and just time that goes through it. Maybe I'll show you one more time. So this is the grid pattern for the for instancing the square, and here we got the object transform node, and I'm basically placing each square into grid. And what's really important is this rotations. So mixular release and this 4 different states. It's rotating like a 90-degree for every state. And we have the factor here with a snap. This is important. Map range with a number wiggle. Time plug into the evolutions with a slight delay. And we have random and multiply. This ping pong, I'm not really using it, but I could just do that as well. If I'm doing it like this, so the time will kind of ping pong, but you don't need to do that. Maybe the time can be just so there you go. I'm advancing frame by frame, and every frames there should be one of this square that's rotating, kind of like a clock. But we get this kind of complex looking, but still what's underneath is really simple. It's yeah. So that's probably the first pattern I'm exploring. I don't know what's the name of this pattern, but yeah, with Blender shader node 3, we can generate things like that quite easily. Like even if you, instead of using this circle pattern, if you just plug in things like noise, texture, with a generated let me try. We definitely need the texture coordinate, and if we render it out, maybe noise texture is not a good example. Musgrave texture. Yeah, with my Musgrave, it's not repeating, but if we actually plug this into the color ramp, you might see some magic. Kind of like what is the name of that guy? The mathematics guy. What's his name? Let's quickly. Math pattern. Mathematics. I think his name starts with E. Pattern texture bird. I think Escher. Yeah, this guy. This all basically like math. pattern, and it's good if you're a shader artist, it's good to look at this work and try to recreate it using code or node. Yeah, I guess this thing is kind of looking like that. If you have if you can generate a like a single square that's can be repeated in every 4 sides, then you create one um, kind of like a procedural texture. And if you can kind of randomize a pattern slightly, so instead of square, grid, and then you have like kind of like a robust kind of texture. Yeah, I don't know, this is like just me playing around with textures in Blender. There's a lot to explore, definitely. So let's this is actually just 4 different states rotating randomly. I don't know. So that looks like a maze kind of puzzle. So yeah, this kind of thing probably can be coded using OSL. I haven't touched this for a while. But yeah, see, this is a this is a Suzanne OSL that I created back then. I cannot remember how I did this. It was really interesting. Yeah, I'll probably look back into some of this OSL stuff. That's interesting. I think all these coded shader can be recreated using Node. Yeah, we'll see. I really have to revisit all this stuff. Yeah, okay then. It's just me started to think about recreating procedural texture using Blender cycles, because cycles have a lot of nodes already. Okay, we will see. Okay, if you like this video and want to leave comments and suggestion, please do so. You can leave like, and yeah, if you stay tuned to this channel and subscribe to it, and I will make more video like this. Thank you very much. I'll